Welcome to Solid Ground, where purpose is found and life is rebuilt. My name is Shelly Robbins, and if you are listening to this, first of all, thank you so much. Thank you for being here at the very beginning. This episode is a little bit different. First of all, it's the very first episode of Solid Ground, but it's different because today is not about a guest. It is about the story behind the mission. It's about why Solid Ground exists. And this episode, more times than I can even count, I have played out in my mind. I have written it out. I have thrown it away. Even just the podcast itself, I started over so many times, questioned whether I was ready or not, and questioned whether anyone would even care. Because how do you introduce something that you've been carrying in your heart long before it ever even had a name? I thought I was supposed to begin with the trauma, with the abuse. I thought maybe I was supposed to begin with the court or how I'm feeling, the PTSD, with losing myself, with all of the things that completely changed my life. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized that that's not where this story begins. Before this is a podcast, before this is a business, and before this is the movement that I foresee it to be, this is a promise to a friend that I never got the chance to interview, a promise that stories of rebuilding will be told. So happy 40th birthday, Johnnie. This one is for you. A few days before Johnnie passed away, he had asked me to interview him. He wanted me to tell his story, not because he wanted attention, not because he wanted sympathy. It is because he wanted people to know that your past doesn't have to define your future. Johnnie had lived a life very different from mine. He had rebuilt after incarceration. I rebuilt after abuse. Different roads, same destination, but it was based on rebuilding, and that's what connected us. He believed people deserved another chance. I believed people deserved another chance, so he wanted to help people find hope. He even was part of a program in Las Vegas that provided that for those who were coming out of incarceration. And I wanted to help people find hope as well. I've had a big dream to be able to give back to those who have survived trauma. And neither one of us wanted to be remembered for the hardest chapter of our lives. We wanted to be remembered for what we built afterwards. We never got to record that interview. And for a long time, that sat really heavy on my heart. I kept thinking if I had just had one more conversation, if I had one more hour, if I had just done it sooner, even that night at the studio when it just came up in conversation, pulled out the phone and started filming. But life doesn't always give us a second chance. And sometimes it just gives us a responsibility. I realized maybe I wasn't supposed to tell one story. Maybe I was supposed to create a place where thousands of stories could be told. Safety and security has always been something I searched for. And the only time I think I felt it was when I realized I had rebuilt a solid foundation, solid ground. And although I never got the chance to ask Johnnie why he called his music recording studio in Vegas solid ground, I know it was significant to him. It was the place he was always seeking, and so was I. So am I still to this day. And so I decided to make sure the legend of that continues on. And that's how Solid Ground was born. People ask me all the time, why Solid Ground? Again, because before someone can rebuild, no matter what you're rebuilding, your marriage, your confidence, their finances, their career, their faith, their health, they need somewhere safe to stand. That's what solid ground is. It's not perfection. It's not pretending everything is okay. And it's not having all of the answers. It's simply finding a place where rebuilding can begin. The truth is, I've been rebuilding my whole life. I just didn't know it because my story didn't begin with abuse. When I was born, which was also the day that my biological father had died. I've shared that before on my platforms, but every time I say it, it still stops me because I've always believed something. I've always believed that for just a few moments, my dad and I were both with God on the very same day, and he was leaving, I was arriving, and I've always wondered more times than I can count if rebuilding has always been written into my story some way or another. I never got to know my biological father. I never got to hear his voice. I never got to ask him questions. I never got to tell him who I became. But life has a funny way of teaching us that even the things we never chose can shape the people that we become. And I think that's why I've always had a heart for people who are trying to begin again, because somewhere deep inside, I've always understood what it feels like. I do want to say, though, just preface this, I was blessed because 2 weeks shy of me turning 1 year old, my mother met my sister's father, and he raised me as his own from that day forward. Garrett is my dad in this life, and I'm proud to be his daughter and grateful he is here. But it will never fully take away the curiosity of where I come from and who I come from. And as I got older, life looked pretty normal from the outside, especially in my younger childhood years and until it got really messy, right? But a lot of people didn't know the depth of that mess. And I became a mom at 18, and the greatest title I will ever hold. But I also built a career over 16 years while I raised young children. I built a business from home. I've helped people find jobs and careers. I've helped people prepare for interviews. I've celebrated job offers, and I've watched people believe in themselves again and again. And I've helped also the companies who are hiring these individuals build out teams that align with their mission and long-term vision. And you're able to see that synergy amongst everyone. And looking back, I realized something now, that long before I was rebuilding myself, I was helping other people rebuild their lives. And I just didn't have a name for it yet. Funny how God works like that. But if you had looked at my life from the outside and you didn't know me for real, you probably would have thought she's doing pretty well. She's doing okay. And I was working. I was raising my kids. I was building a career to the best of my ability, helping other people, smiling, showing up, doing everything I was supposed to do. But here's something I did learn through all of that, is that the strongest smiles sometimes belong to the people carrying the heaviest burdens. And I had no idea that no matter how stable and secure I was never standing on solid ground. You know, it's funny where people hear the word trauma, they usually imagine one moment, one event, one really bad day. And that was not my experience. For me, it happened slowly, so slowly that I didn't even realize it was happening. I didn't even realize I was disappearing through all of that. And I don't know who I am. It happened one compromise at a time, one excuse at a time, one disappointment at a time, one broken promise at a time, until one day I realized I couldn't remember the last decision I had made that really allowed me to stand firm on solid ground and feel secure and safe with moving forward. It was more like rolling the dice, making sure, hoping and praying that what I decided to do was the best decision. So I think that's one of the hardest parts about emotional trauma, is that people don't always see the bruises. And if they do, those fade, right? They don't always see those broken bones, but you slowly stop trusting yourself through that trauma, and you second guess everything, and you apologize for things that aren't even your fault. You replay conversations, wondering if maybe you were the problem. You become so focused on keeping the peace that somewhere along the way, you lose yourself. Maybe someone listening today knows exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe your story doesn't look like mine. Maybe it was an abuse, right? Or it was an addiction. Maybe it was grief. Maybe it was losing a child. Maybe it was prison. Maybe it was a really significant, terrible divorce that broke you down, or a bankruptcy. Maybe it was something you've never even told another person. You've never spoke out loud. But if you have ever looked in the mirror and wondered, where did I go? I want you to know that you're not alone. You know, a few years ago, I was being interviewed on a podcast, and I was asked, when did I realize I lost myself? My response was, you can't lose something you never had. I don't think I ever had a confident understanding of who I was as a whole. I knew the titles I held. I knew the responsibilities I had. I knew the aspirations and dreams that I had also. But one of the things people don't really talk about enough is, for one, the PTSD that follows all of that trauma. But before I experienced it, I thought PTSD looked one specific way. I thought it meant, military, nightmares, flashbacks. When I heard it, that's what I would think about. And I didn't realize it could also look like reading the same email 4 times because your brain can't process a single sentence. I didn't realize it could look like walking into a room and forgetting why you even walked in there, or driving somewhere and realizing you don't even remember the last 10 minutes of the drive. I do this often, that one anyway. But I didn't realize it could also just make your body feel unsafe. Like, only after the danger was gone would you actually feel safe. But if you're always in danger, when are you safe? And I remember thinking, what is wrong with me? Why can't I focus? Why can't I remember things? Why am I so exhausted all the time? And why do I feel like I'm surviving instead of living? But honestly, for majority of my life, I didn't even realize I was just surviving, because I had been in it for so long. I thought it was the way life was. And then I learned something. My brain was doing exactly what it had been designed to do. It was trying to protect me. It wasn't broken. It was overwhelmed. That realization really changed everything for me, because for the first time, I stopped asking what's wrong with me. And I started asking what's happening to me, what has happened to me. And that's a huge difference. And even right now, I'm dealing with current, present PTSD and depression. I have serious memory loss at times. I feel dissociated. My brain freezes. I feel stuck, like my wires are just not connecting. But now at this point in my life, I understand what is going on, how real the after effects of trauma or survival affects you in every way. And maybe that's a question some of us need to ask ourselves more often, not so we stay stuck, but so we stop blaming ourselves for surviving. People will ask, why didn't you leave sooner? Or why did you stay? And I've learned those questions usually come from people who have never, ever had to untangle fear, love, hope, guilt, shame, and survival all at the same time. And the better question is, what made it so hard to leave? Because healing starts with understanding and not judgment. I don't share my story because I want people to feel sorry for me. Honestly, I don't. I share it because if someone has sat across from me a few years ago and said, hey, Shelly, you're not crazy. You're not weak. You're not broken. Your nervous system is trying to protect you, I would have probably broke down crying, but not because it fixed everything, because I would have finally felt understood maybe, or even had the opportunity to start understanding myself back then. Although I know that now, I still face these battles where people ask me these same questions. I'm always explaining myself. And if I hear you are so strong, or girl, you got this one more time, like I understand the intention behind that statement, but I am not strong. I cry, I hurt, I scream, I'm numb at times, and I'm forced to push through in order to survive while taking care of kids, while not having the support here physically to assist in anything that needs to get done either. But it doesn't mean the strength everyone sees. I wear that with a badge of honor, because trying to survive while your world has shattered and you either lost all security or you're grasping to just hold on to what you have, that is very scary and continues to keep you in survival mode. And if we are always so hypervigilant about something in our life at every single moment, have we really ever healed or begun the healing process? Are our nervous systems ever going to be at rest? That's why this matters so much to me. That's why solid ground matters. Not because my story is more important than anyone else's, but because stories have a way of making people feel seen. And sometimes feeling seen is the first step towards healing. I don't know where you are as you're listening to this right now. Maybe you're sitting in your car. Maybe you're folding your laundry. You're walking your dog. I don't know, trying to get yourself together before you walk into work. Maybe you're listening because you're quietly wondering if life will ever feel normal again. And I want you to hear me when I say this. Normal may never look the same, but peace is still possible. Joy is still possible. Purpose is still most definitely possible. And rebuilding is absolutely possible. Because if there is one thing that I've learned is this: the hardest chapter of your life doesn't have to become the title of your story. When I look back now, I don't even think losing everything was actually the hardest part. The hardest part was believing I could build something beautiful again and then again. Because when you've lived in survival mode for so long, you almost forget what peace feels like. Actually, to be very honest, you may not know what it truly feels like at all. You may actually be so comfortable in the chaos that peace is foreign to you when it arrives. Subconsciously, it gets destroyed. Again, because peace feels uncomfortable. You become so used to waiting for the next bad thing that when nothing bad happens, your body doesn't know what to do. That's trauma, not weakness. Trauma. And I wish more people understood that. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is this: healing is not an event. It is a decision you make over and over and over again. Some days healing looks like getting out of bed, literally, and that's all. Some days it looks like answering just one email instead of the 150 that may come through in an 8-hour period. And some days it looks like just going for a walk and getting some sun. Some days it looks like maybe just crying, because crying is actually healing. And it also may look like just laughing, right? Without even feeling guilty about it. It all sounds so simple, right? I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to arrive, to wake up one day and suddenly be healed, be confident, be whole. But life doesn't really work that way. Healing looks a lot more like small choices, one after another, choosing to go to therapy, choosing to ask for help, choosing to forgive yourself, choosing to believe that your future can still be very beautiful, even if it doesn't look like you planned. You know, for years, my career, like I mentioned earlier, had always been helping other people find work, whether it was through entrepreneurship and providing business opportunities or directly through talent acquisitions in the corporate setting, placing people in roles, helping them prepare for interviews, interviewing them myself, helping them believe that they had something valuable to offer, and in turn also helping companies create a team that would execute the mission that they set out to do, right? And looking back, I smile about it because I realized I was preaching something I hadn't fully learned myself. I was telling people, you have value, you have experience, you deserve this opportunity, while quietly wondering if I still believe those same words about me. Isn't that interesting? Sometimes the advice we're so good at giving other people is exactly what our own heart needs to hear. And that's one of the reasons Solid Ground isn't just going to be a podcast, because inspiration without action doesn't change lives, babe. I don't just want someone to feel encouraged for an hour. I want them to know, I want you to know what to do next. I want women walking out of shelters to have someone help them rebuild. And not just in a survival on the bottom level. I'm talking about career-wise, a resume, and kill an interview because they finally have the confidence in themselves to not second guess who they are and the skills that they have, right? I want someone who's been incarcerated to know their future is bigger than their record. I want someone who's grieving to know that they don't have to grieve alone. And I also want someone who's leaving an abusive relationship or planning to do so to know that there's a community waiting to help them, to help you if you are that individual and stand again. That's the dream. That's the movement. Solid Ground isn't about me. It never was. It's about every single person who has ever stood in the big mess of what used to be their life and whispered, now what? Right? My prayer is that someday when someone asks that question, the answer will be solid ground. Not because I have all the answers. I don't. Trust me, I don't. But because I believe we heal faster when we stop healing alone. And maybe that's what Johnnie was trying to teach me without either of us even realizing it, because he told me many years ago, back in 2015, I was facing a divorce, which came with a significant change of income. Okay. My kids were very little. They were 5, 7, and 8 at the time, and first time as a single mother. But he said two things to me that night while we sat in the backyard of his mom's house talking. He told me that, number one, it is not happening to you. It is happening for you. And number two, think of yourself as an arrow and life is the bow in which God has it in his hands. So remember those situations where you feel like you were being pulled back, the furthest stretch to your breaking point, right? You're pulling it all the way back. God will release you from it. And the further you were pulled back, the speed and distance maximizes. God knows what he is doing. So honestly, it was like the first time I had ever had anyone really have a conversation like that with me, and it stuck with me. It stuck with me. It will stick with me for the rest of my life. Even if I didn't fully comprehend the bigger picture in that moment, whenever I have faced adversity since that night, I always thought about what he said. I looked for the reason in it all, trusting God, trusting myself, that it is for the better good, that it is happening for me and not to me. And I looked for visible I needed proof, right? So I would look for that proof to show me like, hey, it's happening for me. So instead of looking at it like, oh, this is happening, that's happening, I was trying to find the lesson in it and where it was taking me to the next level. So I want Johnnie's story to matter. I wanted my story to matter. But more importantly, we both wanted other people's stories to matter. And we always wanted to shine light where it may have been dark, to make someone else smile or believe in themselves. And let me tell you something, okay? I may have RBF, but Johnnie had a smile that radiated every single room he walked in. You couldn't help but to smile. It was contagious. All right. And overall, that's why this podcast, specifically Solid Ground, exists. That's why this community exists and is going to grow. We have 400 members on our Facebook group. So if you're interested, please, I'll get you there. Okay. You can go to the website, solidgroundexperience.com as well. That's why I believe, though, this isn't the end of my story or yours. This is literally just the beginning, not a maybe. This is the beginning. Maybe this chapter isn't called the end, right? Maybe it's called rebuilding. And if nobody has told you this lately, I want to be the very first one. I promise. Are you listening? I promise your past, or even if you are facing current major life changes, pain, or uncertainty right now in this very moment, is not your permanent address. Do you hear me? I promise your mistakes don't get the final word. I promise there is still purpose on the other side of the pain you may be enduring. And I promise you are never too far gone to begin again. So if you're listening today, and you're wondering whether your life can be rebuilt, let me answer with everything I have. Yes. Yes, it can. Because that's what solid ground is all about. You know, I keep coming back to one thought. And what if the worst thing that ever happened to you isn't the end of your story? What if that was the beginning of the story you're actually supposed to tell? You know, you go from victim to victory. I never imagined I'd be sitting here recording a podcast, talking about things I spent years trying to hide. And I may even struggle through this process with saying some things out loud right now as I go through this episode to episode. But if you would have told me 10 years ago that one day I'd sit in front of a camera and talk about trauma, my trauma, or be able to sit through and talk about other people's trauma and the overcoming of it all and healing, PTSD from it, right? Rebuilding, what that looks like, I probably would have laughed or cried, maybe both. Then when I initially moved to Atlanta in 2021, so 5 years ago already, podcasts were introduced to me. You know, the boom through COVID happened. And so when I got here, it was introduced to me. I not only started binge watching them, but I started to attempt to create my own. I did co-host one discussing what led me to rehab in 2023. But then when I attempted to continue on with my own once more, it was going to be called Truth, Trauma Recovery, Uncensored and Transparent Healing is what it stood for. My boyfriend at the time was going to co-host it with me, but after one episode, it stopped. We never filmed again. We never recorded. We never did anything with it. And it kind of bothered me at that time. I always wanted to, but I could feel this stop in between. I guess it just wasn't time, right? And I think maybe neither of us was ready to tell the whole truth, because back then I was still trying to convince everyone I was okay. And for the most part, I was okay in 2023. I was probably the healthiest I've ever been. But I was still convincing, even outside of anything I may have not healed or even current things that were going on, that I was good, right? So I just moved forward with it and I focused on other things. And I think a lot of us do that. We become really good at surviving and really good at performing, really good at smiling, really good at saying, I'm fine, even when our world is quietly falling apart. And, but here's what I've learned. At the end of the day, healing doesn't begin the moment everyone else believes you are okay. All right. Healing begins the moment you finally tell yourself the truth that you could be very much exhausted, the truth that you're hurting, the truth that you deserve peace, and the truth that you don't have to carry everything by yourself anymore. That's what this space is. It's permission. Permission to stop pretending, permission to ask for help, permission to begin again. And when I think about Johnnie, I don't think about the labels. I don't think about the mistakes. I don't think about the chapters people would have chosen to maybe define him as. I think about his heart. I think about his vision. I think about every conversation we had about helping people or while building our own life, about purpose, about redemption, about second chances. And I think about the excitement he had whenever we talked about what life could become. Johnnie and I walked, again, completely different roads leading up to and during our 9-year friendship. He rebuilt after incarceration. I rebuilt after abuse and divorce. But different stories, different pain, different scars, but the same belief that people are more than the worst thing that's ever happened to them, that people deserve another chance, and that hope can outgrow heartbreak, that purpose can outlive pain. And maybe that's why Solid Ground was always supposed to exist. Not because I had everything figured out, but because I knew what it felt like to need someone to believe that my story wasn't over. So if that's you today, and you're wondering whether you'll ever feel like yourself again, or questioning who you are even at all, right? Because maybe you never knew who you were. I want you to borrow my hope right now until you find your own. Borrow it. Hold on to it. Keep it for as long as you need it. Because one day you're going to wake up and realize you're not just surviving anymore. You are living. You're dreaming again. You're laughing again. You're trusting again. You're building again. And when that day comes, I hope you remember this conversation, because this was never about my story. It was about creating a place where your story could matter too. So here's my promise, not just for today, not just for this episode or anything or any other episode, but for every single chapter we write together. As long as this microphone is turned on and as long as God gives me the opportunity and the voice to do this, I will continue to tell stories that remind people their life is not over, that healing is possible, that rebuilding is possible, that purpose is possible. So, Johnnie, happy 40th birthday. I wish we would have had that interview, let alone all this time we have missed without you here almost these past 3 years. And I wish the world could have heard your story from you. But I hope you'd be proud of what this is going to be becoming. I hope you'll be proud because your story helped build the foundation for countless others to tell theirs. All right. So thank you for reminding me that people can change. Thank you, Johnnie, for reminding me that redemption is real, that rebuilding is always worth it. And thank you for teaching me how to believe in myself, even if my back was against the wall. Like I said, you were not just a chapter, you were a full-blown experience in this life. And I am so grateful I had an opportunity to be part of it, to know you and to be as close as I was with you and to be part of your family. And to everyone listening, welcome to Solid Ground. If today you needed someone to believe in you, let me be that person. I believe your best chapters have not been written yet. You're not broken, you're rebuilding one step at a time, one decision, one day at a time. So keep rebuilding. I'll meet you back here the next episode. And until then, find your solid ground. And this one right here, this will always be for you. And I love you forever, Johnnie. Happy birthday from here to the heavens.
Yeah, nigga. Oh, this shit real sensational. Stick to the code, like I don't even know. You gotta be in touch with yourself. I'm in love with this dough. I've been keeping Get to know who you really are on this journey. Get to know the people around you. Make sure that y'all are on the same mission. All eyes on you. Can you set an example? Can you be different? Can you resist the temptation? I need it in person. I need it in person. Don't you think I deserve it? I put all this work in. Everything is immersed. Just understand, to whom is given, much is expected. Shine your light on other people. Be a leader. Be strong. Have courage. It's gonna take some time. But that's just with anything. When you finally get there, go for it. Give it all you got. Where I'm from, niggas rich. Life or death or in prison. This money make niggas rich. All that other shit on the pillar. Let's go, let's go. Let's get it. Hey, look, hold on. It's my first time out here. What's up with it? Yeah. I'm gonna turn up real quick for you one time. I'm coming out of Las Vegas. I go by the name of Stone P. And other shit on the pill. Yeah. Feels like I'm monolithic. What up? Hey, look. Come check it out. make them cop every time you drop. The 6 was right off the lot. And I kept everything stocked. All of my ops wouldn't even shock. I'm everything that you not. I like to stack, you like to shop. My bitch is bad, you like them thoughts. I pay attention to stocks. I like to think outside the box. I like connecting all them dots. We gonna keep it confidential tonight. I see you, my G. Love. Keep it solid how I'm supposed to, babe.
Slaps on dick.
Yeah, I got my mojo back. They ain't fucking with. Oh yeah, boys, we here. We're not gonna stop, and let's know this. Hard work gonna pay off. Stay on your grind. Mind your own case. Cold been rising the rights. Know that we rising the stakes. We the man. It's cold to the soldier. Birthday motherfucking weekend. Y'all make sure y'all pull up. But still going get the bricks, nigga. This is how we live.
Sell money. You got flash now, but time will tell money. I spit the hottest shit. You need it, I got it shit.
Let's see what's going on. It's another night in the town. Las Vegas, you know how we do it. Hey, look, we finna move around a little bit. They say J-Dub Productions behind the wins. Make sure you bring all your friends. Just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. I seen every one of them signs. I think it's divine. It's like a design to be in this moment of shine. Put it all on the line. Everything mine. Feel like I'm one of a kind. Feel like I'm running behind. I've been on my grind. I want every dollar and dime. $1 million set of mine. Yeah. Hey, look. Make sure y'all tap in with them. Make sure y'all submit y'all motherfucking music, because they gonna give you the realest and the honest and truest opinion about that shit, nigga. That's what's going on. We're at Chubby's. It's one of our secret hideouts. Come check it out. I want them niggas to put this shit on. And like when you hear music like this, I really want you to get inspired and get that fire up under your ass. Put that fire up under your ass. Like, don't make no excuses. Nigga, just grind. It is what it is. No, I'm all the way mad. Special event. Y'all make sure y'all show up. Stone Corleone himself.
I'm too gangsta, I'm too old school, babe. To run around like I owe you, babe. Now I'm living how I'm supposed to be.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, tie it up. Connect the dots. I'm with it. What's up with it? Just touched down in Spokane. What's going on?
I ain't touching this creep, keep niggas out my mix. Listen, I'm supposed to pick if you the chance. The Calabasas to Let's go.
You couldn't even imagine, nigga. When he came so far. Yeah, with the shit on my town, staying nowhere to be found. Pulling up till we drown, about to roll up a pound. Like a mix of black and brown, take a hit. This shit feels even. Oh shit. Hey, welcome. Hell right, El Paso, Texas.
Black John Gotti, niggas don't want
Fortune and fame. Dang on the track. I give them the game. I give them my joy, I give them my pain. They put me in chains. I sacrifice, I took all of the blame.
Now I'm living how I'm supposed to be. Got me like, niggas.
That I wanted to give up, quit, just tap out. I felt like I was putting much more into this than what I was receiving. The universe will conspire to help you on your journey. There's been times where I didn't know how I was gonna get to a destination. I was frustrated about the video process. I mean, countless things. But I'm just mindful that what I'm after is extremely big. And it's not easy, because if it was easy, everyone would be at a certain level. It's only a few at a certain level. So just keep in mind that even when you feel like you're not making those large steps, baby steps, baby steps.
Shit, nigga. Grab this shit, nigga. Look, I do this shit like every day. I swear I take it to the grave. I'm forever getting paid another strip, another place, and they can see it on my face. I can't afford another case, another nigga in this race. I'm trying to balance on my pace. I'm trying to elevate the stakes, trying to be one of the greats. I'm putting money in my safe. I really want to get a taste. Can you tell me what it feel like? Being broke don't feel right. Cut you loose, but we still tight. You was wrong, but we still right. Came up in the field, splitting $100 bills like, look, it was dark, but we shine bright. Young niggas want it all, trying to ball in the limelight. I'm just making sure the time's right. Got everything that I want, 2020 in my eyes.
Hey, have you seen the movie Argo Valley? It's Amazon.
Look at the star, status symbol on my car. Everything is up to par. You know who we are. Santana the guitar, bandana when we spar. We move like the mob. We know that you niggas is frauds. This shit is not a facade. We at the Mirage.
I need you inspired. I need you excited.